What if the world's great religions aren't competing stories at all, but one unfolding narrative? What if the founders of the world religions all belong to the same sacred family tree? And what if their teachings were never meant to divide humanity, but to prepare it step by step for a single global civilization? Today we explore a principle that reframes history, the oneness of world religions. Welcome back to School of the Land and to our continuing series on the 12 principles of the Baha'i faith, the foundation stones of a new world civilization. Today in episode 3, we come to a principle that unites the spiritual traditions of the world. Humanity has inherited many religions, but the Baha'i faith teaches that behind this diversity lies one unfolding divine story, the teaching that all the world's great religions come from one source and form an ongoing revelation of God's will. This idea rests on a foundational Baha'i teaching, progressive revelation, the belief that God reveals his guidance to humanity gradually through a series of divine educators known as manifestations. Abdu'l-Baha explains it this way. Among the bounties of God is revelation. Hence, revelation is progressive and continuous. It never ceases. The religions of the world are not rivals. They are chapters in one continuous book. Although the fundamental spiritual and metaphysical truths remain eternal, the guidance needed for humanity's social life must grow in scope and complexity as civilization advances. Today, we stand at the threshold of a global age, requiring teachings capable of sustaining a worldwide civilization. As Bahá'u'lláh affirms, the utterances revealed by God are adapted to the requirements of each age. As we will see, the Baha'i dispensation expands our capacity to meet the exigencies of the age through the establishment of living divine institutions endowed with the authority to address the changing conditions of the world. In the Baha'i view, sacred history in our present era begins with the Adamic cycle, a span of time inaugurated by the first manifestation of this period, symbolically called Adam. Here, Adam does not refer to the first biological human being, but to the first manifestation of this spiritual age, the founder of the earliest divine civilization of recorded sacred history. The imagery of Eden suggests both the promise and the eventual fall of that ancient Adamic civilization. The familiar story of Eden is an allegory depicting humanity's early spiritual childhood, its original nearness to God, and its later alienation as the religion of God was overshadowed by human ambition. From this beginning arises the figure of Abraham, descended from the family line of the first manifestation. Abraham becomes the father of nations, not only spiritually, but genetically, because through him flows the lineage of the prophets who shaped the religious history of the world. Baha'is under the covenant honor 9 great manifestations of God within this cycle: Adam, Moses, Krishna, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, the Bab, and Baha'u'lláh. Their descent flows through Abraham and his 3 wives, Moses and Jesus from Sarah, Muhammad and the Bab from Hagar, Krishna, Zoroaster, and Buddha from Keturah, and Bahá'u'lláh descended from both Sarah and Keturah. We discussed this further in our video, Whatever Happened to the Throne of David. I'll link it in the description below. So the manifestations of God, though appearing in different lands, languages, and cultures, are spiritually and even biologically one family, united in purpose and origin. Across the world's traditions runs a shared expectation of future age, of global enlightenment, brought by a great promised one, a king of glory, a world-unifying redeemer. This universal figure is Baha'u'lláh. Each religion describes him in its own way. In Judaism, he is the Prince of Peace seated upon the throne of David. In Hinduism, he fulfills the expectations of the 10th avatar of Vishnu, who descends to restore righteousness. In Zoroastrianism, he is the promised Shah Bahram, the victorious King of Glory. In Buddhism, he is the Buddha Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite glory. In Christianity and Islam, he is the return of Christ, coming in the glory of the Father. Every river of revelation flows toward the same ocean. Every tradition points toward a day when humanity would be gathered into one fold. Baha'u'lláh proclaims that humanity is reaching the age of its maturity, the time when the divided world becomes one world, when the nations must recognize their shared origin and shared destiny, when the religions of the world must be understood as chapters in a single narrative. From Adam to the covenant of Abraham, to the law of Moses, to the enlightenment of Buddha, to the sacrifice of Jesus, to the submission of Muhammad, to the herald of the Bab, all of sacred history forms a rising arc that leads to the revelation of Baha'u'lláh, the return of Christ and divine educator for the kingdom of God on earth. If you'd like to explore these teachings more deeply, visit schooloftheland.com.